Recently in my life, I haven't been the most open or real person. I've been pretty balled up, and honestly, I've been just overall sad. And when I feel like there's no hope left, I go to Mac Miller's music. Admittedly, I've only recently gotten into Mac's music, but it's left a lasting impact on me ever since I first heard the Divine Feminine, which is my favorite Mac album, and honestly, probably one of my favorite albums of all time now. But if you know the slightest thing about Mac Miller, you know he raps a lot about mental health and overall just stability of life, which is why I go to his records for a reality check or just a reminder to get through it. However, amongst his catalog, there's been one track that stood out to me ever since I first heard it.
I had a drug problem, for a long time. It wasn't just in music, but I definitely was going through a drug problem, and I think it was more my state of mind. I was just pretty depressed, as everyone.
Even while successful?
Yeah, I think it started.
With success?
Yeah.
That track would be Hand-Me-Downs off of Circles. Circles is the first posthumous album and overall release of Mac's, and most people can agree that it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to know what mindset he was in before he left, and it's even harder knowing his rise in popularity at the time. Hand-Me-Downs specifically is about Mac's reflection on his mentality and what he does to cope. Listening to the song, you can hear a heavy presence of percussion, whether it's the legitimate drums that slowly build in the intro of the song, or rather the chords of the mallet percussion that ring throughout the track, along with smooth, almost jazz-like guitar and funky bass in the background. It's a level of authenticity that Mac has and has always had, and that to me is what makes Mac, and this track as a whole, so much more special and unique to me compared to other rappers. It's just how fucking real it is. Like, the instrumentals and the lyrics. There's points where Mac chokes on his words or loses thought in the song, or where the hi-hat loses rhythm. The song's importance to me and overall strength that I believe it has comes from the fact it's stating that imperfections are fine. The song opens with Mac almost criticizing his reliance on relationships and women as a whole, something that I admittedly have struggled with these past 4 years, aka high school. He brings himself back to earth in all honesty. He's critical on how his reality and fiction mix together, but acknowledges the growth from it. It's something that I believe most people my age range can relate to. While I do believe there are more enjoyable Mac songs, I don't think any of them will ever be as well written or artistic as Hand-Me-Downs. The song not only is a summary on Mac's beliefs, but his life as a whole and his growth as a person. In a sense, it kind of reminds me of Paul Thomas Anderson's Punch Drunk Love, which I'll get to later in the video, but in the way that love can really power you to such strong lengths. Now, I know what I'm about to say is really gonna counter what I said earlier, but the latter half of the song doesn't feel like a critique on Mac's view of love, but rather feels like a declaration of it and how everlasting it is. When I talk about quote-unquote realness, I mean the authenticity. The opening verse feels like a cry, almost whining for his partner to come back, and you can hear it in the scratches of his voice. The second part,
get away when it ain't really safe and it don't seem right. But what's new, you get used to the bullshit, screws they go missing.
Is almost him getting upset with himself for letting himself be happy. And back to the thing what I said with his voice, but in this part, it really has a lot of aggravation to it. Now, I want to take this back to Punch Drunk Love, where Adam Sandler plays a mentally unstable man. He lashes out with anger issues or overflows with negativity to the point where he uncontrollably cries. And he spends his whole life only preparing for the future and never lives in the moment until he meets his eventual partner. He realizes that life starts now with your choices and how you live your life right now. Like Hand-Me-Downs, the first half of Punch Drunk Love makes you almost sad and uncertain because you see how unwell these men are until they fully realize their love is more than their previous views of life. In Hand-Me-Downs, there's no operatic and almost dramatic declaration of his love.
I have a love in my life. It makes me stronger than anything you can imagine. I would say that's that, Mattress Man.
But like reality, he very naturally just through living his life and spending time with his partner, finds genuine true love. Mac experiences love and realizes it at the end of the song. And back to the theme of the video, which we kind of lost track of, but why I feel like this is Mac's magnum opus. This is going to be pretty personal for me, but for me, I feel like finding what true love genuinely is the most difficult thing in the entire world. Now, I'm not trying to say that I, a 17-year-old senior in high school, know what love truly is. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I do know that finding what love is pretty difficult. Whether it be with passion or relationships or even mentality, it's not easy when it's forced. We as people spend so much time trying to force our love onto what we believe deserves our full affection. That is not love. And that's what Mac is trying to tell us in this song, that love is messy and stressful, but in the end, it's natural. Not brought on within a forced bond, but rather by time.
What does this song mean? My whole life, I don't know what this song means. I mean, should old acquaintance be forgot? Does that mean that we should forget old acquaintances? It doesn't mean that if we happen to forget them, we should remember them, which is not possible because we already forgot them.
Well, maybe it just means that we should remember that we forgot them or something. Anyway, it's about old friends.